today. So I'd like everyone to please note that this is a public meeting and that members of the public may be in attendance. The meeting will also be recorded by the clerk and published online for public viewing after the meeting. Otherwise, the taking of photographs, including screenshots, audio or video recordings, are not permitted during the meetings unless with the express permission of the convener. Can members attending virtually please activate their cameras where possible to enable you to join by video, and can all attendees mute their microphones when not speaking. Please do not comment during items unless I invite you to do so. If members attending virtually wish to speak at any point, please indicate by clicking on the raise your hand button. Members in the chamber should also raise their hand and I'll bring you in at appropriate time. If members have not been able to access all the papers for the meeting, please indicate. Today we'll hear each of the items set out in the agenda. I will invite the officer to present the paper and members will have the opportunity then to ask questions before we proceed to make a decision. I'd like to make a special note today that our colleagues from the fire service have been, but we'd like to note that Mark Bricey, the commander, retires at the end of this month and he's had to give his apologies to the meeting. But you may wish to acknowledge his contribution over the years. He's been very well known in the area. He's very local to Clackmannshire and he attended Alba Academy as a young person, so he'll be very much missed, and I don't know if members want to acknowledge that.
Thanks, yeah, Mark has attended most of the meetings, attended Alliance meetings, he's been really busy in the community. And extremely hard working officer. He followed, he started in the Kent Post, he followed someone who had a lot of life. He picked up the cuddle, he ran us, and he done an excellent job. I wish him all the best for the future.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. I would now ask the clerk to let me know of any apologies or substitutions.
We have apologies today from Councillors Forson and Fairley, with Councillors McTaggart and Councillor Lindsay substituting. So we are fully today.
Thank you. I can ask if any members today wish to declare an interest.
I declare I'm interested.
Thanks, Gary. Thank you. So we'll move on to the minutes of the last meeting. We'll go through, sorry, I can put my microphone on. We'll go through those. So could everyone look at page 7 for accuracy, page 8, and page 9. Are members satisfied that the minutes are accurate? Thank you. And we will now move on to item 4 on the agenda. Can I invite Chief Super Barry Blair and Chief Inspector Audit Marsh up to present the report, please?
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, members. So firstly, I suppose I'll just introduce myself. I took over Divisional Commander of Hope Valley from Chief Super Gerson in January, so this is my first opportunity to come to Scrutiny and to do so. I suppose to make my thanks, Callum. I picked up a really high performing division in some of the material and content of the report that you have before you today it predates my time in the division, but it's something I'm seeing day and daily in terms of the performance of our staff right across Clackmannshire and indeed with the overall plan. So and thanks to the team. Delighted to be back in Fort Valley since we started policing, and I've been away for about 9 years or so to come back to the area that I reside and to take over the leadership of the division is a new honour, and I'm so delighted to be here. Short, I will touch on this beforehand and what already some international things that might be relevant to members. Obviously, since we were last here as an organisation at Scrutiny, our Chief Constable's estimated intention to retire in the summer, and the process of recruiting a new Chief has now commenced, and we expect that transition to happen towards the middle of the year in August. I think would be a likely time to use for that. We've also appointed a new Deputy Chief Constable, and as a result, DCC Martin Graham has taken over the policing portfolio, and he was actually doing quite one yesterday, visiting Kilncraigs and really impressed with the set-up and the facility. And again, that's something that since I've been back is completely new from when I left, and it really is an impressive facility, and the sheer working collaboration is an absolute credit. We've also got two new assistant chief constables, ACC David Duncan, who leads up our police and care portfolio, which is the main switch for what we're driving professional standards and behaviour and what we're doing with culture and people. And ACC David Duncan has picked up our criminal justice portfolio. Within the division, we have a new detective superintendent, temporary detective superintendent Kevin Canby, who's taken over from Joyce Greenholm, who I think colleagues maybe know he's again working profile for a long time across the public protection business area, so a lot of work across the partnership space. So a number of changes, but certainly in terms of the continuity of that, and particularly locally, Alan and I in particular had a good period of handover. Always in transition between what he was taking forward and what that I and my colleagues across the SAT will continue to do. I thought I'd also just touch on briefly the budget position for the organisation. That's been real trailer thing from the public, and it's clearly like all of the public sector, it's a challenge, in terms of financial climate from which we find ourselves. The initial indications were that we might see a flat cash budget, which is not being the case. I think we've seen approximately an £80 million uplift in the budget, but the chief's been really clear in terms of that's not going to be anything near what we need in terms of delivering the service, the state, the transport and the resources that we think we need. As a result, the organisational headcount, for one that we familiar with in terms of 17,234 figure of police officers, that has been below that for a time due to COVID-19 and recruitment challenges. But that is adding to near 16,600 in terms of our officer headcount, and that's something I'm really working within the division to look at how that will impact how we police and how we structure resources locally. So we intend to do that work in partnership. So I think one of the things that's been true of policing quite manager, policing in the Forth Valley, is that we're really heavily invested in partnerships. We're really heavily invested in community policing, and for me that's something that needs to continue. But the start there is we need to work with our partners to work out how we best deliver the service for the community quite manager, for the community Forth Valley, and that's what I'm picking up. So that is not to say that they will continue to deliver the best possible service we can. Of course we will, and I hope that the content of the audience about today really gives a flavour of that really good positive work that's ongoing, work right across Strive, which is an organ of national interest in terms of the people that come and see and linking what they do in the manager, to support for the matters and what to address if that's right in this questions now to go through the report.
So,
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, everyone. So, this police performance report presented today covers policing activity in Flag Manager from the beginning of April 2022 until the end of September 2022, and the crime and incident stats for that same period, alongside the 3-year average statistics that we're providing now to give you some wider perspective on performance. So the report outlines a wide variety of examples of how we're continuing to deliver on our local policing plan under the various priority categories. As usual, it includes some safeguarding through rapid intervention or STRIVE case studies that demonstrate how we continue to collaborate daily with statutory and third sector partners to improve the lives of residents in Flag Manager who have complex wellbeing needs but do not meet statutory thresholds and would require and receive what can only be described as bespoke help from multiple agencies to address their individual needs, and as you know, we also help the families that are affected by those individuals as well. So it probably won't surprise you to hear that poor mental health and financial difficulties are a constant theme throughout STRIVE cases for those service users.
So we continue to work really closely in partnership to ensure that the right and most capable partners can deliver those interventions to people before they reach crisis point. So in the reporting period, police attended, just to give you a flavour of the vulnerability that they deal with, they attended around 425 concern for person calls, which demonstrates just a huge amount of vulnerability calls that police attend that are completely unrelated to any criminality. So on a positive note, this number is down on the preceding year, which is assisted by the work that's ongoing through Strive, and we continue to keep harm reduction, public protection and community need at the heart of everything that we do. So you'll see some examples in the report of acquisitive crime detections and also disruption of serious organised crime and drug supply. And as always, as we know, it's very important to the community and support priorities as well. Food safety is also something that we continue to commit towards. And I think you can see that with all the local and also national campaigns that we run to keep pedestrians, cyclists and drivers safe. And we do that locally through our CP and also nationally with roads policing unit. I've also included information around improvements in some of the online applications that we use daily in police and are used by key statutory partners as well, which enables better information sharing to identify risk and vulnerability as early as possible. And also better technology that allows frontline officers to spend less time having to come back into the office to complete paperwork, and they can do it on their handheld devices out in the community, so they can remain boots on the ground on the streets and helping those that are most vulnerable. So I thought it was worthwhile to mention a couple of bits of technology that is helping us be more visible, because we know from feedback and surveys that that's clearly what the community wants. So from the statistics, you'll see the total number of domestic abuse crimes and incidents are down. The total number of crimes of violence are down, and the number of sexual crimes are down, and the rape detection rate is up, all of which is very positive. The award-winning Police That Gang campaign has been very well received worldwide, as we've documented in the report. It's ongoing, so I think there will be other pieces that will come out, and that's helped to inform our new violence against women and girls strategy, and also aims to help affect wider culture change, which is also something we're looking at very closely across our workforce at strategic level and down. So in Clackmannanshire, we're also piloting a domestic abuse prevention programme currently alongside our colleagues in criminal justice and in SACRO. So this is work that is offering support for men who are on the periphery of domestic offending that are identified by police, to help those who are worried about their behaviour in relationships and want to make positive changes. And we are also able to offer help. We've got one of these workers that are joint funding alongside the colleagues that I mentioned, so we can offer partners one-to-one support as well. So we're trying to get in early, do a bit of prevention and stop this people who are on the periphery of domestic criminal justice service from getting to that stage. So there's also been less victims of assault, you'll see, and significantly less disorder complaints, less housebreaking and vandalisms, and whilst robberies increased slightly during the period of this report, the latest figures that I have from April into February this year from the analysts show that those figures are
below 3 and 5 year averages. So, and also have the figures for all the other crime types into 2023, and all are extremely positive. They're all in a downward trajectory, including all the antisocial behaviour, violating vandalism, racial hate crimes, consuming alcohol, and drunkenness and disorderly conduct. The one thing that remains up due to the cost of living crisis really is shoplifting. So I'll take that in the take on this. So that's really a snapshot of the report, which hopefully you'll find to be quite positive. So the Divisional Commander and I will now just welcome any comments, recommendations, questions on our report.
Thank you very much for that excellent report. Members of the committee now have the opportunity to ask questions, and I'll bring you in at the appropriate time. So if you just indicate. Councillor Peel.
Hi. You just mentioned the Zephyr shop comes in up and you see it kind of happy with that.
Not happy with it.
Well, you say you just accept that, really.
Could all one person speak at a time, like. No, I'm certainly not happy with it, but it's, I would be more concerned if it was crimes against the person, like all of the crime types that I've outlined. What we have done for shoplifting, we had the Scottish Business Resilience Centre out just at the tail end of last year to work with us, and we went round all the businesses, the small independents, the big supermarkets, etc. To offer them some assistance and advice how to maybe target harden themselves a little bit for, against shoplifters, because it obviously is something that is extremely prevalent. So we've engaged with them, and they need to kind of come into that now and try and help themselves as well. We are fortunate to a point in that we don't have most of our shoplifting criminals are locals, and it's usually, we don't have a lot of real organised criminals teams that come into Clackhamshire, fortunately. But there is an element of ownership that needs to be taken by supermarkets, also petrol stations, etc., for dry rolls, those sort of things, that they kind of make themselves a bit of a hard target. And we have reported numerous people for large numbers of shoplifting. We've actually had a couple of people that were detained in custody and subsequently remanded, such as the level of criminality that we're getting involved in shoplifting. So we're very much on top of that.
Well, obviously, I sent an email to City a few months ago, saying that they're meeting with the Green Officer now in the Academy in Mansour, and I was told yes, we're going to do that.
Okay, I'll pick that up. I'll pick that up for you.
Thank you. Can I bring in Councillor McTaggart, please?
Thanks, Chair. I welcome the case studies that are demonstrating the success of Strive. That's really heartening. However, I'm concerned about the drop in detection rates. For example, serious assault is almost 10% down in detection rates, robbery a drop of 32.4%, domestic abuse 17.6%. There's actually quite a few of them that have the detection rates dropped. Audrey has just said that there seems to be a drop in actual crime, but I'm wondering why there's a drop in the detection rates. Thanks.
So in terms of the robberies, So I've had a look at those. So there's no real pattern to those, and the majority of them are detected, but some have, domestic related, some have alcohol involved, some are drug related, and it's almost an even split between those that are in public and private spaces. So it just really, the crime is going down for the serious assault, so that is really good. It really just, a lot of the particularly drug related crimes, people don't want to speak to the police. That's just the nature of some of these things. We will exhaust all lines of inquiry, but it depends on a number of things. Witnesses that are available, availability of CCTV in the community or in doorbells, and as I say, we sometimes get hostile complainers. That is also some of the robberies that were domestic related. They are also with the domestics. A lot of people, despite reporting things to the police, they want to, initially they're calling in to get police assistance, will subsequently be hostile. And because they actually ultimately want to stay together because they've got children or whatever, there's lots of other imponderables around these. So you mentioned the serious assault, the robbery, and the domestics. Is that right? That was everything.
That was the ones I picked out, but there are others there that are that also hate crime. That's down. The detection rate is down 18.1%. So I'm just trying to understand why there's such a change since last year's report, because I would assume that the same restrictions and the same criteria that you've just highlighted that makes detection difficult existed last year. So I'm just wondering why there's such a drop in the detection rate this year.
That's really all the perspective I can give on that. I mean, it's without looking at each case, at each individual case, but those are the hate crimes. Most of the hate crimes are actually against police officers. And really others depend on the availability of witnesses who are willing to come forward. So it's the same, thorough investigations that we carry out. But as I say, with domestics, with drug-related crime, quite often we don't want to speak to the police.
Thanks.
Is that it? And Brian Hitchell, please.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, it's a very deep report, and it's a really good report to see what's happening. The one thing, well, there's a couple of things. One is it'll cost you, the new one that you have running. I take it you've got nothing there at the moment to tell us about that. It's a relatively new one. I look forward to that next year. The other thing was the community police we've still only got 2 community police in each area, or is there more coming on?
Yeah, there's 2 in each area, but we'll get full complement. That's what we have always had, right? 2 in each area, and our community policing numbers are not changing in any way. So we still get the same service. Okay. And obviously there's still the SBOs in the schools as well, and we'll get divisional alcohol and violence reduction officers who work very closely with the CP and the SBOs, and we'll get full complement of those as well. So, okay.
Can I just thanks. We'll remember eventually. I'm a long sensitive about it, so we'll remember eventually. Yeah, That is a wee bit concerning because there's an awful lot more happening within the community policing than ever has been. So it's a much more, so to only still have just two, and like Alba, where I am, is you don't see them very often because obviously they're having to do an awful lot more than what they did before. The police and their when they're driving about and they're actually in the town centres, not the community police. I was seeing a lot more of them because I know I've seen a lot more police cars going about, but whereas the as to be more proactive there within the community. The reason I'm asking this is because there seems to be there's an awful lot in this paper that new stuff and doing much more. A deeper dive into what the crime rate is and all this, and that's a great thing. But what's happening with the actual live police doing this stuff, and if it's just the same amount of police officers, how are they getting through that deep dive?
So clearly everything that we deal with is assessed from threat list and harm. But the technology, the handheld devices that I've spoken about are probably, I think, the best bit of kit that the cops have ever had. But that's probably why they're more visible as well, because they're not having to come back to the station, so they can be in the communities, being more visible, and do that whilst they're taking 5 minutes, wait for them to call or whatever else. But the commander's talking about the reductions that are coming, but we are working more smartly, absolutely. Strive has definitely impacted on the vulnerability calls, because as I've spoken about, those have gone down, and that will be in no small part related to that as well. So we're chipping away at that and allowing the police to facilitate being more visible, being in the communities more. But we have an excellent community policing team. They are very proactive. So they try to be as visible as possible. And we've went past a lot of the big events that the police had to cover. When David CP would possibly be asked to backfill on occasion for response officers because of divisional and force commitments. So we're really in a really good place just now with, we're still managing to do lots of disrupt drug suppliers and do all those things in the community as well as Strive, and also these new programs that we've got to try and do some prevention and early intervention with domestic abuse, etc. I don't think these things are happening everywhere, but the team are very invested and take pride in what they do in the community, and a lot of the CP do community work in their own times as well. So, but I think that's a combination of that as well, why we're seeing a bit more. But the community police, you still have two community police officers, and they will be there as much as they can.
Brilliant, thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Ellis, please.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. One of the questions I was going to ask, and maybe being asked, because I've been in this answer. However, I will go to page 26, and there's reference to female road safety officers. Can you expand a little bit more on that, please?
Sorry, what page?
It's on page 26, is under the school police officers.
All right. So you just want to, what is it we're asking about?
Expand a little bit more on the work of the road safety officer. I'd be concerned that we'll have pupils trying to do the job the same way when the schools can please go there. And that sort of initiative. Knowing there's some drivers and you have to implement and change it's not yet finished. So a bit concerned with that, so a lot more information for you.
Andy wants to come this?
So that's almost exactly what we're getting to do, not by ourselves clearly, but the impact of the children providing that message alongside yourselves, alongside colleagues from the school is actually really impactful. You know, so having children going back to their parents and highlight exactly what you're talking about, the manuals driving, the means that people are driving back around the schools is really important. It actually brings that sense of responsibility and sense of ownership in the school community as well. So it's actually we have them and we have them right across Scotland. They're really, really powerful and positive initiatives. So we have we also have initiatives, and I don't know if I'll be answers for me, but where we will have youngsters supporting the police in terms of speed camera activations and such like that. That's not to enforce legally, but again it's that positive education and messaging about it. So it's all about we can't and will never be there all the time. So if we can indoctor and bring that messaging, that education into the school community, because it's parents that are doing it, then it's actually, I think it's a really powerful and important initiative. And it's risk assessed, so we're not putting children out to marshal the school car park, but I think it's all about that positive messaging and how that then leads to the school community itself.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Flynn, please.
Thank you. Overall, a very good report, very interesting and informative. But it's almost a report of 3 hours up to this part when we get to page 17 of the report, we get to look at the stats. It's all very positive, nicely up to that point. Excellent. But I'm returning to what Councillor McTaggart was mentioning. The detection rates, we're flogging this to death, but it seems to be that it's the only negative vector in the whole thing, really. And there's got to be a reason for that, and possibly a solution to it. So I wonder if you could think, is there anything that can be done to improve your ability to detect crimes to a greater extent? Expect an arson and their willingness of people to actually report the crime, which you know is happening. Maybe those numbers will be stats because it's diluted with an apparent effect. So if you're getting blocked, you should maybe get an answer on that. So that maybe the detection rates will look better. But the overriding question is, what would you need to improve those detection rates?
So I'm just wondering, when we spoke about it at the beginning as well, so this all falls under the, the CID PPU portfolio. So I'm just wondering whether it would be beneficial for them to perhaps do a presentation, come along to the next meeting. We've never had that before. I think we've brought someone to talk about cybercrime, about fraud, etc. But that was also something that we wanted to ask today, if there was anything else that would benefit from. Certainly, CCTV as a factor. Areas where they've got fantastic CCTV is always, it provides that public reassurance, and also it's just really good detecting crime out in the public space. I mean, it really is. You can't get away from that. There's that, coupled with, as I say, domestic people want to stay together, and sometimes people don't, we do get a lot of hostile witnesses. In terms of, forensic capability, all that kind of stuff, I mean, that is, that is there, and that is used in every case where it's relevant. So we really do rely on people engaging with us and wanting to report things, and we quite often don't for various reasons, repercussions, want to stay together, whatever. But if we think that would be helpful, and we could ask them to come along and particularly focus on detection rates.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's a very good idea. Rather than you being trusting and an area to someone else that responsibility. Okay, something else I wanted to ask. Yeah, underage drinking, is that a significant problem in what's the trend?
We have been actually doing an antisocial behaviour action plan over various areas over the last school, so it's been more of an issue then, but it's not something that is really prevalent in the area. So at weekend, so as part of we have a weekend policing plan every weekend where all these areas are, we look at the trends in pre-season week and all these areas are focused on. So we've had an anti-social behaviour action plan for the last few weeks when kids are off school, and we see some alcohol from young people during that time, but it is genuinely not something I see often. Nor is young people in possession of controlled drugs. It's not a huge thing in that much.
Yeah, thanks. That's good to know. But the confiscation of alcohol going down is a bad thing for the police because we start. No answer to that one. I was intrigued by this notion of something called the IRD on page 21 and 9 of the report. Yeah, this is a piece of software, this visit that we're talking about, and this is something that is owned by the police or the council or some third party, and does it have applications that are wider front?
This again is used by you, so what I don't know who owns the platform. No. But it's something that's used. The problem before was that people were getting different versions of it, and it was just obviously with not being able to see live time what social work are putting on and police are putting on, then clearly there was a challenge there with being able to assess risk and intervene early. So it's been really welcomed by the EU. But in terms of those other questions that I really don't know, we can perhaps get them to cover that. But I thought it was just, I thought that and the new technology that the police are using was really important to cover. Because again, it's about the effects of that is about being more visible in communities and also being able to assess and identify risk and vulnerability at the early stage, which is clearly really important.
So just add to that, so all partners contribute to it, so the local authorities, council and police contribute to the introduction of it. It's hosted by the NHA. So the role I was doing for Life Planning was in charge of fault detection. In case when we had frequency discussions with about children or adults at risk, we would each attend, we would take our notes and each, and it would be reviewed to this system, allows that shared awareness and that kind of on record. And it's a really positive introduction, again, something that's not replicated elsewhere in Scotland, and a really positive piece of software for the Scotland area.
Yeah, my interest in it may seem slightly strange in a meeting like this, but I think it has opportunities for audit and scrutiny being more productive, that kind of thing is kind of on the wider front. I think basically that's all. Right, thanks for that. Yeah, I think that's probably all I'm going to ask you.
Thanks, Regina. Just a quick question on, I suppose it's related to the shoplifting raised earlier, and obviously there's a significant increase there, and it's been outlined that it's likely related to current cost of living crisis, which we can completely understand. I'm just thinking in relation to that, though, what's the approach really of officers in that situation? Clearly, if they are recognising that people are desperate, as we know at the moment, it is clearly related to, say for instance, it is clearly related to a serious financial issue or otherwise related to the individual. What's I suppose the approach to Scotland or indeed the officers that that are in that situation, that strive-like situation where, there's, we're taking in that information from the individual or whatever. I know it's going to be related to the information that's provided, that detection side of things, but I'm just, obviously, like yourself, not, concerned about the crime element of that, but certainly really concerned about the people that are desperate in that situation, and how we, I suppose, in a sense, supporting those individuals that are clearly desperate at this time. Thanks.
So yeah, really, that is through Strive. So anyone, even so perpetrators that come to our attention that are committing shoplifting crimes, we always look beyond. Once we've dealt with the criminality aspect, we look at the why, what is underlying there. So, and as I've already alluded to at the beginning, money advice are a huge partner for Strive, and the main themes are mental health and money advice. So they're really, really important. So yeah, I mean, every day, the two morning meetings that I've had this morning, we review all the vulnerability and all the criminality and look, as I say, beyond the crime. And okay, we've dealt with that. If there's sufficiency, crime economy standards, etc., kick in. But once we've dealt with that, it's what's the vulnerability there, is that strand place, and I refer into it on a daily basis, as do housing, social work, adult care, everyone does. So that is why we are really starting to see a positive impact of Strive, because it is so powerful. We're also looking at who else is within that household is affected by that, that poverty and that homelessness, or that need to go out and steal food, and looking at what they're stealing, what they're doing with it. So there is a real wraparound service in terms of the crime and everything else beyond it.
And can I just ask a question that follows up from what you spoke about earlier, where you were talking about maybe the PPU coming to speak to the group. And I was just wondering what initiatives there were in the area in terms of serious and organised crime. I know in other areas like Glasgow, who are much bigger, they bring multi-agency approaches together, because there's so much intelligence around this. It's not always explicit. So just wondering if that was in place, or if there were plans to take that forward. Maybe for the PPU, as I said.
So our approach to this case of West End is national, so the work that we do in Glasgow just gives a target profile in some of the bigger cities clearly, but the work in terms of how we score, how we respond to how we address organised crime is done on a partnership basis, and the approach we take to all the serious and organised crime that are mapped is really consistent. Now, we are fortunate at this time that we don't have a significant profile either in profile or specifically in quick manager on serious organised crime. But where we do see some of that, not only do we tackle that with the local resources, but we are supported by the national athletes that are deployed at all elements of serious organised crime, whether that's intelligence, whether it's disruption, whether it's through some of the front-facing enterprises that we might have in terms of the routes through which money might go, and then through the commodity that's jobs, organised crime, and we can clearly tackle that at a local and a regional and national level. But I'd say that at the minute that we don't have a significant issue that we're aware of in terms of serious organised crime. Where we do see some of the periphery of that, I think, is that, again, not wishing to go back to the detention figures, but theft by housebreaking. So one of the key elements of the theft by housebreaking is for high value cars, and the majority of theft by housebreaking nowadays are not from the contents of the house element of the car keys, and that's what we see the majority of those are committed by travel criminality, and that is one of the factors that makes it more difficult, not very strict and possible, but more difficult to detect. And often when we do detect them, we'll detect them with cluster, because we'll get serious organised crime up coming in about who the people are, who they're there, how we know that, and all what opposed to that. So what we now see is that there are a cluster of operations across one or two regions that are particularly there. and we going to target and going to take a cluster more than kind of individual cholesterol.
Thank you very much. Is that all the questions? Basically.
Okay, page 21 review report, page 33. Public confidence. Interesting to note the number of complaints, etc., etc. There's no indication as to how many were upheld and how many were rejected. Can you give any qualitative statement on how you came out of that?
Not really, because when I was first asked to put this in, I explored that with the Professional Standards Department, and we weren't able to find, definitives. So it's 30. I don't think so. They were able to provide how many separate allegations, etc. So it's 39 separate allegations, but some of these complaints can run on for a long time, just depending on the nature of it. So we can ask the question again and see if they can find some more context, but
I think if you let's keep that away because I think the quality service complaints against the officers and staff is actually interesting to see how many of them after the investigation are not real. But really critically in terms of public confidence, how many are, so I spoke at the very top meeting around what seems to be a campaign, the values and culture that we need to have. Public confidence, as you can imagine and know, is often valuable than things we are so responsible for, even in terms of national area and national. We are alive that's not an issue for others. We have those issues within the organisation, and we are absolutely steadfast on identifying and tackling them, and complaints that are here for that. So, just this week we've published information about misconduct. So providing case studies just around officers who we have taken to misconduct and have either dismissed or who are resigned from the service as a result of that. In some cases, unfortunately, replicate some of the development procedures. We know it's a problem for police, it's a problem for society, but I actually think that the impact and the way in which we deal with complaints is fundamentally important. So I want to take that way and come back to the right here with hopefully some more substantive information that can give a sense of that.
That's fine. You'll understand why it's of interest to us.
Of course,
Thank you. So any other questions? No? So can I ask somebody to move the paper, Councillor Earl?
Yeah, thanks. As has been said already, it's a very comprehensive report, and at the standards we normally expect to get from the consumer board. What I will say is there are 2 or 3 issues that I have in the report, and the convener of the licensing board, I'm pleased to note the efforts of the Police Scotland, you volunteers, in distributing posters to also shops, highlighting the dangers of associating the sale or supply of alcohol to children. To children and young persons. There haven't been any cases brought before the licensing board recently regarding proxy purchases. I think they used to call it agent purchases, didn't it? A long time ago. And local businesses should be congratulated for this. But they should also be aware of the need to be continually vigilant and always be aware of the principles of Challenge 25. As I say, there's lots of good stuff in here. I don't we've talked earlier on there about the road safety officers around the schools. As you will be aware, there is an ongoing situation. The irresponsible parking, irresponsible driving around most of the primary schools. And I hope that this scheme goes some way to assist the road safety. I know I've spoken to the head teacher at Sunnyside, and she's been extremely concerned about the half of the old policemen now in the corners and all the rest of it. But as you know, it's the same people the dropping the kids off and parking, and it's trying to break that cycle. I look forward to your initiative taking the information home to parents and say, well, look, that's it should be parking the day. Or other initiatives like walking buses that have been suggested in the past. I know there are issues there, but I'm sure these issues are not intermittent. And finally, the final point I was going to say was, yeah, we talked to everyone about serious and organised crime. And I want to see the amount of drugs that were taken off the streets. Absolutely fantastic news. But is this only the tip of an iceberg? The same that we don't know at the moment, they don't seem to have a problem. As you know, this issue can be so far underground, it's a lot while before it actually comes up, it comes to surface. I feel it's so important that the public asks suspicious of or knowledge of anyone who's involved in the supply or control drugs, that they inform the police, either in person, by contacting the police on 101, or even by informing a local councillor. If they don't feel comfortable with the other options, I'm sure that they could just put it in pass the information on. I know it can be done because I've done some in the past myself. I strongly believe that to beat serious organised crime in the communities, it has to be a multi-agency approach that involves statutory organisations, the third sector, the general public and the general public working together to beat it. I seriously believe that it's only by working together that we defeat this. Whether the drugs, whether the games or other issues, sex exploitation, anything, it could only be a joined-up approach that's been beaten. And finally, although the figures for possession and supply of controlled drugs are concerning, we must forget that the victims, some of the victims who don't see properly are actually users themselves. They are just as victims of the supply as the wife who falls out with her husband who happens to be high on drugs and gets assaulted. There are other issues like that. And finally, another issue that's not mentioned, or maybe mentioned and we missed it, is cooking. Now, for those who don't know, that's when vulnerable people are taken advantage of, and for the people to use it as one supplier of drugs or for other criminal activities. And I think this is something that we need to keep an eye on at the moment. We must be all the county tackle supply of drugs and any other major crimes that may be going on in the area. And with that, I'm absolutely pleased to introduce this report. I think it's very, very comprehensive and no further to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Aaron. Do we have somebody to second the report? Councillor Keels. Okay, thank you. Right, we'll move to debate now. We tend to like to debate the paper. Councillor Collin.
Thank you, Chair. Just to say, it's an excellent report, very comprehensive, nice to read out, very concise, and has some quite interesting context there in it. I was particularly impressed by the That Diary programme. Have you looked at the video? Excuse me. Excellent work. Yeah, superb. So I have nothing but favorable comments to mark on.
Thank you. No.
Yeah, just
Councillor Lindsay.
just really to short kind of overview around the report to say huge thanks to Strong for the report, and I think the detail in there is excellent. I particularly like the case studies in and around the Strive work that's going on as well. There's been a lot of work, a lot of resource, and obviously piloted the Strive programme here for a long time as well, and it's great to see that work actually starting to really feed through, particularly in the reports. I always think statistics are helpful, but to get the kind of qualitative case studies to back up the work that's going on is really, really helpful. So, but as I say, the Strive work is really important, particularly to this area. And just reference that it's not just about the crime, it's how are we supporting the people and the issues and stories that we have behind their personal circumstances as well. So it's good to see that coming through. There was a reference as well around the sort of junior road safety work and that work around the schools, and I think there's been real improvements. It's referenced already in this mark constituency as well. There's been a lot of good work done in and around the schools there. I think there's more still to be done in some other schools. Every school community is slightly different, and we recognise that there's not enough police to go around in the morning and work two police in every school. It can't happen. So, but I think there's been an improvement there as well, and that's something that we need to continue with. The young people, having young people involved in that is critically important. It helps to name and shame. I know you can't say that, but that's irrelevant because it helps to name and shame not name and shame, but shame the drivers that are potentially causing us grief as well. So, really good report, really helpful, detail as well as qualitative background. So, thanks for that.
Thank you for your Councillor Bench, please.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, just want to say again, fantastic report. There was one little thing, and it actually happened this morning to me. I was coming in, and it was 8:45, and live in Albert, and walked by the Albert Primary, and there was a jam of cars. There was nobody being allowed to come up the way, nobody to go down the way, because there was two cars sitting waiting to get into the primary school itself, and then they couldn't get in. And I thought to myself, well, we spent an awful lot of money actually doing that, and it's a fantastic road for the kids now, it's a very safe road, in my opinion, for the kids to actually cross the road to get into school. But because of two people or two cars that just kind of went, no, I'm going to wait until I can get into where I want to go, then everything was jammed up, and I sat there for like a couple of minutes, and eventually it went by, but at the same time, kids were crossing the road with the cars, and that's not a good thing. But apart from that, normally the Alva school is very good for safety, but as I say, it's just up on Friday night, just usually maybe a police officer to stand it a couple of times and see that happening, and then it might not happen. But yeah, apart from that, everything is fine in my way, and the report itself, I was really impressed with, even with the negative bits, because you need to get the negative bits out to us as well, because it's no use going everything goes in the garden. We need to know those that the bad bits so that we can actually help to solve it. Thanks very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Benny. So our members happy to note the report. So the committee agrees with the recommendations laid out in the report, and we will now move on to the next item in the agenda, which is the fire performance report, quarter 1 2022-2023, and this report will be presented by Group Commander Lee Turner and Rachel Rogers, Station Commander Alloa. So I'll hand over to you.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning, all members. By means of introduction, as similar as our partners in Police Scotland, we've had quite a churn in recent months with regards to personnel. So, my name is Lee Turner, Group Commander for Stirling and Flat Manager Council areas within the Stirling Flat Manager 5 LSO region. My colleague here is Station Commander Rachel Rogers, who in February was appointed into the role and is responsible for the Alloa station area. So between the two of us, we are the conduits for any referral pathways, etc., that you're looking to achieve. I wanted to thank the membership today for their kind words for the departure of Area Commander Mark Price. Following a distinguished career, it's time for him to move on to pastures new. We have done a national recruitment and selection process for Area Commander, and there are individuals that are awaiting appointment, so in due course we will obviously provide a report for recommendation for the board to accept in order to allocate the success of the mark. So I wanted to just put that on recording notes of our thanks for your kind words towards Mark. So as mentioned, this is the performance report for the primary service for the Catmanship population area between April the 1st to the 30th of September of 2022, and the report shows comparative figures for the previous 12 months. Pages 4 and 5 of the report provides definitions because the fire service likes to work with acronyms, so we place the definitions table in there, however obviously you will take comment at the end of this if you have anything to raise. We have the 12 KPIs which are found on page 7 as a summary for the audit and scrutiny meeting. And again, as I say, these are benchmarked against the same period in 2021. I'm pleased to announce that 6 of these KPIs have shown a reduction in the number of incidents within the previous 12 months. 3 are showing that there has been no change, and we identify that there are 3 which are showing an upward trend to incidents from the same time period. These being deliberate secondary fires, unwanted fire alarm signals or UFAS, and non-fatal RTC casualties. We'll take it to priority 3, which is the domestic fire safety, HI 1 to 3. We have seen a reduction in accidental dwelling fires, 13 to a total of 11 for this reporting period. We've identified that the living room and the kitchen are the 2 main focal areas of fire that were already reported. Smoking related activity, the use of cooking appliances and faulty electrical supply were identified as the main sources of ignition, with the cooking being mainly reported cause of alarm during this reporting period. And we're delighted to report that there were no fatalities or non-fatal casualties within this reporting period in the domestic setting. For the headline target, the target is 62 per annum for the Catmanship population. So performance is demonstrating that we have got continued improvements through our targeted prevention, protection and education alongside our partner agencies and work undertaken by members of the Fire and Rescue Service. Priority 4, which is deliberate fire setting, HI 4 to 5. Deliberate primary fires has dropped slightly from 11 to 8 events within the reporting period. We know that Catmanship wards north and south show the largest incidence of deliberate primary fires, each reporting 3 events for that 6-month reporting period. 1 recorded delivery primary fire resulted in a protracted incident for the Fire and Rescue Service involving a number of fire appliances, in this case 6. This also coincided with a further large fire on the same day, which is recorded under the non-domestic building fire statistic, and required a significant resource to be successfully allocated into the Alloy region to not only deal with these 2 large-scale incidents, but also to maintain our business as usual resilience. So it shows that we are able to be flexible and resilient in our approach to fire safety and public safety. The deliberate fire setting has been reported as an increase of 28 events, ending at 78 for the reporting period. So deliberate secondary fires. We identified that April is the report with the highest incidence of events, registering 28 again. Of these events, woodland property and crops contributed to 43 incidents. The dry weather experienced during this period, we believe, has contributed towards this, and figures indicate that the secondary fires will be above the annual headline figure set for the KPI for this year. Historically, we see the first part of our reporting period as demonstrating larger values in this area, so we anticipate that we will see the curve flatten as we report on our 12-month annual performance. With regards to non-domestic fires, which is priority 5, incidents involving fires in non-domestic settings have reduced by over half, from 16 in 2021 to 8 in this reporting period. This is tracking to remain below the headline target for the year, which is set at 21. Again, there were no fire fatalities within this period, but we did report 2 non-fatal fire casualties. Both incidents reported only minor injuries to these individuals, who require either first aid treatment on scene or are advised to seek further medical intervention. The Fire Rescue Service continues to work with all duty holders where the Act applies to ensure that fire risk assessments reflect the operating environment that they work within and that good housekeeping is promoted and maintained to reduce the risk of fire. Priority 6, which is the unwanted fire alarm signals or UFAS, HR9, we have seen a rise over this reporting period from the previous 12 months to 102 incidents, which is obviously quite high. We do acknowledge the increase by 16 incidents, however this is tracking to remain below the headline figure for the annual period of 239 events. Page 18 of the report provides a breakdown of the most frequently attended premises types, with places of education proving to be the event for footing where we see the most number of UFAS. Committee members may be aware or should be aware that further briefing note has been supplied by the Fire and Rescue Service with reference to changes to our approach to UFAS as of the 1st of July 2023. This will not impact upon the reporting period of 2022-23, but will begin to show a reduction in reportable incidents as we move forward. Operational crews and our fire safety enforcement team will continue to work with duty holders to reduce the impact of UFAS, particularly surrounding continued attendances and non-domestic premise types which have the sleeping risk, to see further reduction in attendances and productivity losses. Further information and advice can be identified on the Fire Scotland website, www.firescotland.gov.uk, and I would encourage that this message is communicated amongst respective business forums. I will reiterate, however, that Scottish Fire and Rescue Service will continue to attend every premise type where there has been a reported fire. Priority 7, which is road traffic collisions and casualties, HI 10 and 12. The Scottish Fire and Rescue Service were physically asked to attend 7 road traffic collision events within this reporting period. This is a small reduction of 1 incident from the same reporting period in 2021-2022. Of these incidents, there were 0 RTC casualties, but we did experience 4 non-fatal casualties who required either extrication from the vehicle or who received first aid treatment on scene. Whilst we have experienced an increase in road use following COVID restrictions being eased, we are tracking to be below the headline values for this KPI. With reference to community safety, so on page 20 and 21 of the report, we provided a summary of the activities that we've undertaken within this area in order to engage with members of the Clackmannshire population and to enhance our preventative education and interventions that will reduce unintentional harm and also to tackle instances of antisocial behaviour. With regards to antisocial behaviour, we continue to work in partnership with the safety advisory groups to monitor events and implement interventions where required to prevent escalation and further outcomes. All education centres have been approached with significant input surrounding primary and secondary level on fire reduction and fire intervention strategies. Secondary schools were approached by our community safety action teams with antisocial behaviour and summer safety presentations undertaken. Water safety, with it entering the summer months, there was a lot of work undertaken with partner agencies and schools, and exercises were undertaken within inland water risks to increase signage and also awareness about door access rights and responsibilities for members of the public. We've also worked in partnership with the RNLI to provide safety messaging to all 5th and 6th year assemblies. With the Hoarding Awareness Week that was undertaken in this reporting period, the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service carried out a number of interventions set up and are involved in working with the Transform Forth Valley initiative to identify and work with individuals who have a tendency to hoarding to see these instances reduced. As I mentioned, from an education side of things, operational crews continue to provide fire safety advice to all vulnerable members of the community. For this reporting period, we undertook 212 domestic home fire safety visits in domestic dwellings. We have a vibrant youth volunteer scheme based at Alloa, and we continue to host this on a Thursday evening. It's well populated and our staff continue to work through a range of modules to support both our corporate parenting commitments and also to just enhance our youth engagement procedures. And finally, from a recruitment and retention perspective, the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service within this region has both full-time and on-call firefighters. Our full-time watches are at full complement, and any vacancies that we identify and manage through selection and recruitment processes that are currently underway. On-call recruitment nationally has been very challenging. However, I'm pleased to report that all on-call stations in the Atlantic region are well populated. We do still have vacancies within these, but we are accepting notes of interest and do have individuals within the recruitment selection pathway. So I'm confident that these positions will be filled in the near future. We are part of a national working group with regards to our on-call, which includes a toolbox to help with social media promotions, and we would also seek support from members here today to enhance that message so that we can get the message out a lot further than just our social media channels and networks. We've also introduced what we call PrEP, which is a pre-recruitment engagement program, which has seen a significant improvement in the success rates of individuals entering our selection process, but not just the whole time, but also for our on-call. And this has increased from a 19% success rate to an 80% success rate. So recruitment and retention problems should ease as we move forward. And that, Chair and members, is the conclusion of my report. I've got myself to make sure welcome any comments or questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for an excellent report. I've now moved over to members' ask questions. Please, again.
Thank you, Chair. Just one thing that I'm querying on your page 20 is the seatbelts. Oh, obviously someone's got mixed up here. I'll shut up so.
Everybody's got seatbelts.
Thanks, Chair. Page 57 and 58, the community engagement. I'm impressed with the amount of community engagement activities that are ongoing. These are great initiatives. I'm intrigued by the safety equipment dispensed. Can you maybe expand on that? Does that happen when you do the home safety visits and identify vulnerable people at them? Thanks.
Okay, thank you. So, safety equipment dispensed on the Fire and Rescue Service is based on risk profiling from partnerships and referrals that come into ourselves. Operational crews, when they carry out home fire safety visits, if they identify individuals that require further assistance, we use our referral pathways in order to seek support for these individuals in the community. And what I will say with regards to the safety equipment is that it's very much based on budgets and our ability to be able to identify partnerships where we can generate these items and assets that we can then distribute. We recognise that the Fire and Rescue Service as a public safety organisation and also with our position and respect that we have in the community has opened doors to us to members of the public, so we obviously continue to seek to support where we can and maximise the efforts that we can do. As you can see on that report, fire retardant bedding, ashtray bins, letterbox defenders, for example, these are all things that we can install in people's properties to improve their safety and well-being. But again, it's very much done through the referral networks that we pass on.
Thanks for that.
Okay, thank you. I'll come on to Councillor Coyne and then Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Chair. Right, HI5, which is the one that's showing the biggest change in your KPI page, your page 7. That's a big jump. I mean, it's over 50%. I understand that the weather could make it difficult to control these fires and possibly lead to some of them starting, but surely underlying that was an intentional aspect that people have intended to set more fires, it's not just an accident because of the weather. So what do you think is the driver of that? Is it carelessness? Is it youth? Is it what's driving that?
It would be quite difficult to quantify that in some respects because it's down to individual positions and distractions that may be available to them within the communities. Yes, we do acknowledge that there has been a rise in the number of deliberate secondary fires, and a lot of our interventions are now aimed towards reducing these events, particularly on a ward-by-ward basis, so that we can identify. My colleague here, Rachel, so she now sits on the Safety Advisory Group, so we're working alongside Police Scotland and other partners to identify trends and where we see spikes in these events, so that we can go in and tackle them directly. We obviously would work with our partners to identify ways in which, if it is linked, normally is the case, linked to antisocial behaviour, where we can obviously engage and educate and reduce these instances rather than the reactive side of things, which is just the fire engines attending these incidents and dealing with them. So we work with properties, domestic, regards to the fire safety messaging that we do. For example, with regards to mobile weekends, which is a prevalent instance of secondary fires. So with regards to securing them sensibly or where appropriately in order to see a reduction in them. So we do have a range and a host of different topics that we refer to within not just our fire safety visit form, but also when we go into schools and other community forums in order to send that message. So we recognise it's high, and we're doing everything that we can to see a reduction in that.
Yeah. Thank you for that. One other question, just looking at page 10 of your report, the target you have set is to keep these fires below 62, and the actual number is 11. I mean, that suggests you're doing frightfully well, or there's something wrong with the target. Who sets the targets, and what are the parameters used?
That's a good question. I must admit, I don't know who it is that set the target. It was on the previous Client Manager Scrutiny report. So we could discuss that off table to identify the targets. It's a good news story, but we're not inflating the targets just to make it a good news story. So, yeah, our ambition is to have zero fire deaths across the board, to have public safety as our safety net. We can discuss that.
Stuart?
Perhaps just to give a wee bit of context on the Council of Clowns, that the Council actually agrees with the local police and fire plans. So to some extent, the Council would have an active role in actually agreeing the targets in the local plan, and the report here actually reports back to this level of scrutiny on that. So there is an element that actually the Council has. You also have a role in that.
Yes,
thank you.
Thank you. Apologies for your night. Councillor?
Yeah, I've only one question, a very quick one. On page 36 of our report 2.7, we talk about the youth volunteer scheme. Can we find out a bit more on that? Have we moved on from the volunteer scheme to the full-time fireman?
So the Youth Volunteer Scheme is a nationwide initiative that the Fire Rescue Service is fully engaged within. So we have a number of units located throughout the country, Alloa being one of them. At the moment we have 10 students within the treated similarly to a scout group is effectively how is the best way of trying to put context to it. So we have a well-functioning unit which is supported by volunteers within the fire service, but we also have external volunteers who come in, youth workers to support it. It is a natural pathway and does provide not just an awareness of the role of the firefighter within the community, but also provides opportunities to improve life chances for the individuals that come into the programme. So yes, you can migrate into the whole-time fire service, or you can choose to support us through our on-call commitments. But it's not a natural pipeline in. You still have to go through the national recruitment selection process. But again, it provides the students with a means of providing context to their evidence when it comes to them applying for the role. And also, we see it as I mentioned, as a corporate parent, it's vital that we have a conduit in with our youths within the community, and this is a fantastic opportunity for people to come and not only see what the fire actors do, but also to gain skills for future growth and prosperity.
Thank you.
So do you have any other questions? Oh, Councillor Bennett?
One around page. That actually, the youth volunteer scheme sounds really a good idea. Is it a 12-week course, or how does it work to get the maximum amount of kids involved? Or young people, I should say.
Yes, so no, it's actually a continual groups, as Natalie said, it was like a scout group, so the youth volunteer scheme is continual and it runs throughout the year, it takes holidays when school holidays, take the holidays. We do have other schemes which I think we now call Fire Reach, which are, they are just 1 week courses where our teams take a group of young people and they come in every day and go through, it's almost like a mini experience of the fire service. They get to practice and learn some of our drills and understand what we do, and put on a display at the end of the week to show what we've learnt, which again is really good for building confidence and helps us with that engagement with people.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Councillor Point?
Thank you, Chair. Apologies if you've answered this in another way earlier on in the proceedings, but your page 20 out of 57 holds fire safety visitors in 3 categories. My question to you is, how are these selected? Do you select them proactively, or are they all referrals to you?
So there's 2 ways in which we receive fire safety requests. One is through our partner referral networks, where these third parties go into domestic settings and identify support that's required, and as part of that, the fire rescue service, for example, with regards to the installation of smoke detection. The other one is you can do through self-referral, so members of the public are recommended to come to our website where you can request a home fire safety visit. How the scoring is done is through the risk rating form that you do. It's certain questions are scored certain ways. So, for example, there's a heavy weighting if a household declares that it doesn't have a working smoke detector within the property, or if they smoke within the property, etc. So there's a couple of indices within. It's a 17 or 18 questionnaire that they would need to complete. Off the back of that generates a score, and that score determines whether it's a high, medium or low risk. What happens then is it sits on a database which our operational crews will have full access to, and then they will make arrangements with that individual to arrange a convenient time to come to the property and carry out that assessment and provide not just fire safety advice, because we don't hold a legal responsibility to the domestic setting. We can only provide fire safety advice, and we do provide long life smoke detection into their batteries. There was a change to the legislation in 2021 with reference to the requirement in Scotland for hardwired smoke detection or interlinked smoke detection in properties. And I would certainly recommend that all individuals review the requirements that's been set, because there will be an implication per se on insurance claims if there is no smoke detection in properties. However, I believe that there's been a lot of reassurance from the insurance sector with reference to this as we go through this transition. And with the fire service, we do provide smoke detection for high-risk domestic dwellings, which is an interim measure until the interlinked can be afforded. but that is for private dwellings. Those that are under landlords, that's the word I'm looking for. They have a requirement as part of their contract and tenancy agreements to ensure they comply with reputation, fire markings, etc., etc. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. I'm right to that would be. I'm thinking of older community people in that in an age band where they're moving on with life, getting a bit forgetful. Their fire risk presumably is climbing all the time. How does that come to your notice? Do you do any proactive work at all, or are you entirely passive as a sector in this?
So we work proactively with regards to our community engagement events that we do. So we do go to groups and forums where maybe more elderly in the community will likely to attend. And we do work actively with our referral pathways in order to identify these individuals. And there are services available to residents who are reaching an age where, as you say, they may be becoming a little bit more infirm. Is it METS? I believe it's METS here. So we have settings, so for example they can have full pendants and they can have alerters within the property, so should a false activation through cooking or there is a fall in the home or there is a fire, it does go to a service that will either inquire or divert that straight to ourselves, and then obviously it comes onto our radar. As you can appreciate, we are an ageing demographic within Scotland, within the UK and the whole, so we will be as proactive as we can be, but short of having a fire appliance in the end of every street, it's very difficult to achieve. So we do what we can, but we will always accept referrals into the organisation, and as I say, we work with our partners to be as proactive in this situation as we can.
Okay, that's good. Thanks.
Any questions? Can I have somebody to move the paper, please? Sorel?
Yeah, I think this was the last report, the very comprehensive report, and what the vote for that report. I'm well aware of the work that the fire rescue service does in local communities, and I'm glad to see that the youth initiative has been a real success. I would hope that it does engender some more recruits for you, so that we do have a production line of recruits going to do. The hunting, it's an excellent report. I'm glad to see that there haven't been very many attacks on the officers when they're attending with. I really don't understand the brutality of anyone who has attacked someone, any member of the registered services for carrying out the job. It's just crazy. Anyway, as I was saying, it's an excellent report, and I look forward with it.
Thank you. Anyone to second the report? Thanks. So we'll now move to debate. Would anybody like to debate the report?
Just I agree with what's been said before, and that it's an excellent report, good, concise, that's how they like them, and very informative. Right?
Yes. Principal Lindsay?
Yeah, same again. I just want to add comments because it seems a little bit quiet. I don't know. But no, certainly in terms of the community engagement, I think Councillor Target noted this as well. It's something I've recognised as well. We obviously attend a lot of our community events, and the profiles they have, and I think it's really helpful to have staff officers there engaging with the public really positively. So it's something that I've seen that is working really well. We'll welcome that going forward. Obviously, it's dependent on other things, and hopefully stats come down, and that allows you to continue to do that. But certainly, there's obviously a couple of figures in there that are slightly still concerning, and but by and large, looking at the positive trend is really positive. So just to say thanks for the quarterly, clear, concise, which is helpful when we've got millions of papers to look at. Thanks.
I'd just like to echo that. I think it's an excellent report, and we recognise the danger falling in your jobs every day, and really appreciate what you do, and this has been an excellent report. Thank you. So are members happy to vote the report?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. So the committee agrees to vote the report, and thank you very much for your attendance, and we'll move on to the next item. So we're now on to the business plan 2021 to 23, and it's an update report, and that will be presented to us by Stuart Whitmark. Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you, Chair. Apologies, I'm just getting my notes up here. This report provides committee with an update on the Partnership and Performance Business Plan as of the 30th of September 2022. The paper is slightly complicated because the business plan covers an 18-month period as a result of the COVID response rather than a usual 12-month period. I would also highlight to the committee that we are unable to report on many of our indicators at the halfway point, and therefore this report covers a limited number that we can report at the 6-month period of the year. The full report will be presented later in the year when the full range of indicators will be available and presented. This period saw more of the COVID abstracted resources moving back to the substantive roles after nearly 2 years of working in response activity. And while this improved capacity, this report reflects some backlogs in progress in a number of areas which are acknowledged within the report. We are, however, firmly focused on recovering these issues over the course of this year and moving into next, particularly where there are governance or improvement issues required, or there are indeed underpins for the transformation programme, and as part of that we are bolstering resources in a number of areas to support that work. So having set out the context there, Chair, both myself and our management team, which I hope at least that migrate over to the top of the table, will be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thanks very much, Stuart. So we'll now move into questions. Does anyone have a question for Stuart or the team? Councillor Boyd?
Oh yes, I do.
Victoria Ryan?
Not any special order. Sorry. Page 60, as I mentioned, for important discovery work associated with ICT. What was the important discovery work?
So, the discovery work that was done over the course of, I think, between May and August last year. It was around the deployment of 365 and also some of the infrastructural issues that need to underpin that. So what that identified was a number of areas around infrastructure, around resourcing, around some information management requirements that would need to be developed and put in place. And so that was very enlightening, and it helped us to actually very much understand some of the journey that we need to go through. So a lot of that is now informing the programme that's being rolled out, including some of the infrastructural stuff that we're doing around cyber security in particular, and also some of the requirements that will be needed to be in place to underpin the digital transformation programme. And subsequent to that, what we did, I think it was around about just before Christmas, came to Council to seek resources to support the further rollout of that, so that really did inform that programme of work. I think that was, I don't know, Sherry, if there's anything you would add to that. That was pretty much the sum total of it.
Yes, thanks, Stuart. I think that covers most of the work. I think it's just the development of that long-term strategic roadmap for IT transformation. That's the work that we have been doing in terms of more immediate actions, medium-term actions, but also the longer-term decommissioning of legacy systems as we move towards cloud-based systems as much as we can.
Just as a write-up to that, you mentioned cyber security. Have we suffered any invasions, attacks, or anything like that? How happy are we with our resistance, or our ability to resist?
I think if I was to have the IT security guys in here, they'd probably say that's an ongoing issue. We'll have to be alert enabled to that as part of the discovery work. And we have got that roadmap that includes cyber security elements. It's quite difficult to discuss some things in public forums, so some of these issues, but what I would say is that it's an ongoing element. It's not just so much about actors who would necessarily look to do harm to us. There are also things that we need to be alerted of. We might inadvertently, through some of our own actions or inactions, or create vulnerabilities. So one of the things, for example, that we are often quite alert to is making sure that there's information goes out for people who are on holiday, Christmas recess, just reminding people about some of the hygiene factors around basic information security and governance, and also that also is wider than cyber security. It also impacts on things like data protection, making sure that we're keeping sensitive data secure and safe, and guarding against breaches. We did provide the committee a report in August, September 2021, and we'll be bringing one forward during the course of this year, because I think it is something that we need to be continually alert to. We've got a programme of infrastructure improvements that we're working on, and I think also a programme of education for colleagues across the council to make sure we're guarding. I think this one's going to be a moving target. I think threats are changing by the day, and it is something that's overseen by GCQ in Cheltenham, the whole cyber security environment. So one of the things that we are required to do is to achieve public service network compliance, and we are just about to undertake a health check on that to see where we are, what our weaknesses may be, and to ensure that we're addressing those. So a lot of work in this area. We've got working groups working on it, and I'm personally chairing those meetings to ensure that we're making the progress that we need to. There are changes coming in quite regularly in terms of what we need to do. There are also other areas we need to make sure that our infrastructure, our firewalls, and a whole range of other things, making sure that we've got support for things from iPhones to firewalls to laptops that have all got the necessary supports in place. It's quite a complex area. What I would say is that there is quite a lot of discussion at regional level now about whether countries should start to collaborate on these sort of things, because making sure that we've got, because the threats are the threats, whatever they are. They're the same threats for us as they are for Falkirk, they are for Stirling, so there's quite a lot of work now looking at whether we should actually look at and collaborate around the kind of resources that we might need to support that. So yeah, there's a lot happening. I think very difficult to say whether I think every day you have to guard against it, and I think that is as much as we could say. I think there's always opportunistic occurrences ongoing that have to be guarded against.
So let me be clear then, you've got this firewall destination that you're required to get to by the outer ring of the bodies. What's the timescale of that? The reason I'm asking it is that I'm conscious of the problems that CEPA have recently encountered. The global government is coming against us in the community and things like that. So it's a very significant problem, and I know that the resources are limited, but have you an idea when you feel you've reached that compliance point?
In terms of the compliance, well, I guess the health survey, which is imminent, will give us the definitive on that one. We do have a clear list of issues that we are working through. As I say, I'm being slightly reticent because I'm aware that we are in a public forum. We're clear that we've got the list, that we're working through those, and where we have identified that we need additional resources, we have, and we're bringing in those additional resources. So, for example, we have procured and are just about to start working with consultants that can help us with this work, not only on the health check, but also making sure that we're making rapid progress the cyber security infrastructural things that we need to have in place. And if we do need to bring forward requests for further resources, I'm absolutely clear that we will come back to council and ask for the resources that we do need. There are a couple of areas already, I know it's not too far after budget, I've already just mentioned that briefly to section 95, so there are a couple of areas already that I may have to come back and seek further resources on, but at this stage I'm not quite at that point, but there are a couple of areas that I may do so. I think there's a lot of work going on in this area. It's a moving target and we'll have to continue to be alive to that, but it may well be that this is maybe one that I could do a briefing for the committee, and so that we can perhaps, not in a public forum, but so that the committee we're able to engage in further dialogue about some of the things that I may be a wee bit more reticent about discussing today in a public forum, if that's okay.
I really understand that, and I was actually going to make that offer to you earlier that we would cut the discussion at this point, but give the record the assurance that we were on it from a moment in the annual, and that might save the message to the council. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I bring in Councillor McTaggart, please?
Thanks, Chair. Stuart, in the full business plan, this is obviously a half-yearly report here, but in the full business plan, is there a recommendation to reopen reception? I'm getting that question repeatedly. We're also seeing people sort of floating about at the front door, no knowing what to do with themselves. So I'm just wondering if that's a recommendation that will be in the full business plan. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor McTaggart. Whilst it's not specifically in the business plan, in a more general way, it is in the business plan, and as I touched on in the introductory remarks, this business plan, for all the business plans across all the directorates, were agreed as 18-month ones to kind of tide us through COVID and recognition that there was lots of things happening in business plans, but we weren't keeping them up to date on an annual basis was a bit of a challenge, so we did an 18-month one. What is in there is what's called future ways of working, that is certainly in the business plan, and the reception is certainly part of that. So if I just outline what future ways of working perhaps looks like, that's going to look like in terms of what hybrid looks like in the future, what groups of staff may be looking for more remote working. I think Chief Inspector Marshall should be speaking earlier about policing technology. We're looking at what is called personas for various types of worker in the future. So at the moment we've got a survey that's going out to managers today actually that's asking for how many of your staff do you think may be remote workers, what kind of equipment might they need so that they're able to be able to access technology whilst they're out on site, what ones might be more office based, and those that that may be more what they do to more remote working, i.e. working at home. So there is a piece of work that I would call medium to long term that's looking at that, and that's going to require quite a lot of building works potentially, looking at the space, how we deal with customers in the future, because if you are moving to a much more hybrid system, you might actually need technology within the reception area so that you've got somebody there that can respond to your request. So if I set that to one side, that's future ways of working, and I can assure you there is a group looking at that. There's quite a lot of work around that, looks at employment contracts, etc. For the short term, we are actively working on reopening the reception. I think some of the challenges that we're having around that, and set aside there's some building works on the roof that we're just trying to bottom out, what impacts that might have on the reception. What I'm hearing at the moment is it's probably less than we thought, so we could move on that sooner rather than later. But some of the difficulties that we will encounter, and what we've just been discussing actually this week, are around Opening a reception creates an expectation that if a customer comes to the reception, then there's going to be a member of staff there to deal with them. So there are certain decisions that we need to make around that. So what I would say is that we are planning to open the reception. It's actually not going to take much building work because there's just a partition wall up there. We've got some recruitment that we need to do. The form of how that reception will look might have to be interim for a period of time. And for example, it might be that slightly reduced hours for walk-in, face-to-face walk-ins, or there may be more predominance of, for example, by appointment. And the reason that I say that is that we need to make sure that we've got the arrangements in place that when customers do come to reception, that there are somebody there to actually deal with their inquiry. Because I think the worst thing would be to open the reception. The receptionist phones upstairs only to find that there is somebody not on the ball. So what we're looking at to resolve that in the short term is looking at having quotas in place, and that may be in the realms of, for example, making sure that managers have got 50% of their staff at any one time, and they've got members of staff that are available to deal with somebody that's coming in. So, for example, to deal with your blue badge or whatever that might be. So there are a few things to work through. I haven't got an exact timeline on that, but it's been a long way around the houses, and I'm trying to make sure that I can relate it back to the business plan, Councillor McTaggart. But I think what I'm trying to pull out there is that there's a longer term piece of work that's about how we work, how we recruit and retain staff in the future, because I think there are expectations in the world now that where jobs are suitable for more remote working or home working, that we can facilitate that, and so we want to make sure that we're in that space and we can recruit and retain the best talent. But at the same time, we need to get that reception open. I think we are aware as officers that we need to get that reception open, and I've got some short-term issues around that, but Shireen and I are working on that with other colleagues, and I am not in a position to give you a specific date at the moment, but I will provide Councillor with an update as soon as I am. Hopefully that answers your question.
Thanks, Stuart.
You can move to Councillor Errol, please.
Thank you. Two questions. The page 66, question, page 2 of the report makes reference to the council inquiries. It says here a target obviously 100% to deal with 100% inquiries are now than 54.5%. That seems to be extremely low. Can you tell me what's been done on that one? And second question, just to pump the together, there's a review being carried out on standing orders and the scheme of delegation. Can you give an update on where we are on that, please?
Okay, yes, so if I take, thanks Councillor Earl, I'm happy to answer that question. Yes, we are some way off the targets and the standards the service we're expecting. I have tried to articulate, this is not a new issue. I think I have been questioned about this at previous committees. And indeed, if I was looking at this time in particular, we're moving out of COVID, we've still got some staff abstracted, there are more coming back, but what I am seeing and what I have identified, whether it's councillor inquiries, whether it's complaints, whether it's MSP inquiries or indeed FOI inquiries, is that we are seeing real pinch points and peaks and troughs coming in, and looking at it in terms of resource. The people who are predominantly dealing with these issues tend to be senior managers or team leaders. These people during these particular officers during that period were experiencing particular pressure points around the response, but that's only part of it. I think there are certainly still other issues in terms of, if looking across the piece, we've had just prior to the pandemic, we went from 8 managers, or possibly 9 down to 4. That was around about November 2019, then we're in the pandemic mode. Lots of these new managers coming out to post with new duties, new responsibilities, but also the responsibilities. And at the same time, over the course of the piece, there has been quite a reduction in business support. So I think what we're looking at the moment, and what I have identified, and what was actually identified through the budget, was looking at where we need a wee bit additional resource in certain areas to make sure that we're able to do that. I mean, none of us are happy about that level of performance, but at the same time, I've also got to acknowledge that everybody is working out flat, more than 100%. And they've got lots of pressures on them, but notwithstanding that, we are fully understanding that councillors have got their democratic role to perform. They've got every right to ask for responses, and they should be getting those responses within the time that's allocated, and we're not achieving that. So we have looked at resources. We're also looking at some pinch points as well, but it's happening time and time again. So we're talking about that as a management team, see where we can try and deal with that. But I think it really is been coming down a number of pinch points. What I would say is at the moment, I think it is improving. I think you can see elements of that in this report. Could I say 100% at this stage of the game that it would be consistent? I don't think I can, so that's something that we're working through as well to make sure that we can achieve that. Because at the end of the day, for anything to be a quality service, it has to be consistent. Otherwise, it can't be quality. So it's really in terms of resources at service level. And the other thing I would say, just looking at it, because I think it's the same issues across the piece, is that we have looked to bolster resources, for example, in areas like freedom of information requests. So that came through in the budget this year, because we have identified that is not only creating pinch points for us as the service that oversees that part of that work, but it's also for other services as well. So there's quite a lot of work happening corporately, but also in the service, because we've got to get to a place where it's consistently hitting the target. And I think at the moment that's clearly not the case. But I don't think any of us would try to make any excuses. But we know what the issues are, we know where the issues are, and we're trying to work through that.
Thank you. And my second question.
Oh, do apologise. Yes, on the scheme of delegation and standing orders, don't have Lee today, unfortunately, on absence, so I don't absolutely understand the ins and outs and the specifics of it, so I won't speak it in generalities, but I think there was a working group that was set up to look at standing orders. And so that's the bit that I'm not quite sure as to where the working group has actually got to in terms of output on that. I have some recollection that Lee was asked to go away and build an salary for the working group to consider. So I don't have the specifics of where that one is. What I can say is that there has been quite a lot of work on the scheme of delegation that has come through to the senior leadership group, and some comments have been provided back on that. So that one is moving forward. And the standing orders, I'm not quite so clear. I need to check with Lee on that one to see what the specific timelines on it. But what I do know is that there are intentions to bring it forward to council, which has given me some encouragement that we're not too far away. That'll either be just beside the recess or just after the recess, so it isn't too far away. But apologies, I do not have the absolute specifics of the ins and outs as to why that might be on the standing orders working group, because I haven't been particularly close to it myself, Councillor Howard.
Okay. Thank you, Chair.
No, you get your hands up there, Councillor Coyne.
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick reminder to the question about the CEA or the inquiry system. To any extent, are the councillors themselves to blame if they're not using the system or not using it properly?
That's a hard answer. I was giving my daughter some tips on interview questions. And I coached her never to say anything negative about any other thing. I'm not aware of that councillor debate to be quite honest. What I'm aware is I think the system is somewhat antiquated, quite difficult to access, and I think we know those issues. I think if I was to go back 10 years ago, I think there was quite a lot of administrative support with councillors. I think councillors now are generally quite tech savvy and do quite a lot in terms of inputting for themselves. And in fact, what I probably mentioned earlier is that we do also have a piece of work at the moment and some what we're calling use cases, which are high-level business cases coming forward to replace the FOI system, the customer complaint system, and the councillor inquiries and MSP and MP inquiries, which will make it much more user-friendly. Councillors will not have to sign into Citrix system to access it, completely through their iPads, etc. And so I think I'm not aware that councillors is going to be raised with me, but I think we do acknowledge that the systems need to be improved, and I think the access for that, and they need to be much more user-friendly for councillors. So that work has actually been done. The business cases have been done, and they're coming forward to senior leadership group next week or the week after. So I'm hoping that something will be coming to council to get on that in the not too distant future. But that's all part of the 1965 really.
Thank you, Stuart. I just didn't want us to be guilty of something and not admitted to in this present problem. We're trying to scrutinise it. Can we go to page 9 of the report, 73 of the papers? And what I want to focus on is procurement strategy review. Now, this is progress of 0%. That strikes me as being unfortunate. Given the procurement strategy is critically important because an awful lot of money can be wasted in this area. And if there's a problem that needs addressing, we're not really starting, we haven't started to address it. Comment on that?
Yeah, I'm happy to, Councillor and Lindsay, if you've got anything to add, you may want to push through after I have. I mean, in terms of, the strategy has not come forward for consideration at this stage. It's not, has not been done on it. There's quite a lot of business at the moment going through procurement, quite a lot of pressure on procurement around some really major projects, and so sometimes decisions have got to be made about whether you're coming to strategies or whether you're dealing with the business. So to some extent, that is the decision that I'm comfortable to accept in terms of accountability. I think also in terms of procurement, we have had a vacancy there. We identified, the council identified this a couple of years ago, that we needed additional capacity in there. And we've got a position that we're trying to recruit through various ways, at various stages, including with partners and whatnot, but there is just a huge shortage of procurement expertise out there. So there certainly is a capacity issue. There's some major projects coming through, around Wellbeing Hub, around Learning Estate, around the IT stuff that we're doing at the moment. It's late, there's no doubt about it, but what I would say is there's still a heck of a lot of work going on around that, around community wealth building. So I am confident that there's lots of key strategic strands still being concentrated on. I think we're seeing that coming through, for example, in the local expenditure improvement, which has actually improved significantly over the last 4 or 5 years. But also through quite a lot of work that's been done on engaging with local suppliers. So a lot of that is still there, still happening. But I think as I've tried to reflect in my introductory remarks and within the report itself, there is a bit of a hangover for COVID. There is no doubt about it. My teams are small. I had, probably disproportionate numbers of staff abstracted onto other things. Some of that were around, areas where I would have liked to have had people working on key governance documents and strategies, and I've got a bit of a catch-up. So I think I'm trying to be open and honest about that. There is a bit of a catch-up, but we are on there, we are discussing it, and we'll push forward with that over the coming year. So, Lindsay, have you got anything that you would want to add to that?
Just to echo what Stuart said there, I think in terms of being comfortable with the strategy that we have in place hasn't fundamentally changed from when we set it before. So I think that gives a bit of comfort that we're still working towards that same strategy and all the work that Stuart's explained. We do the annual procurement review, so that report has been up already for each year, so we've got that to sort of substance that as well. So we will get to that strategy review as soon as we plan to get to it.
I get that. Can I ask a supplementary on the table that I understand maybe the review is, and it's not being rendered unnecessary by what was by previous work that's gone on, but presumably at this stage flagging up any weaknesses that we identify en route to starting the review. That the first thing would be to say, well, where is it going wrong? I think we are noting these kind of things and stowing them away for the beginning of the review process. Is that a fair assumption?
Yeah, I think some of the things that I would reflect on, and I've come actually through some of the major projects that we're doing at the moment. Some of the feedback that I would get, and sometimes it's positioned to me as that procurement can be a blockage in the system, and I think this is what the procurement strategy will address. So I think we actually we're very clear on some of the issues. Procurement, I would never see it as a blockage. It's very key to demonstrate best value. There's quite a lot of spend that goes there, but I kind of understand what the issues are. So, for example, making sure we've got the capacity to deal with some of these major projects, some of which are big and we've never had to deal with before. So, we're already addressing that. So, for example, Lee, through the recently approved budget, Lee Robertson, the senior manager for legal and governance, saw and council agreed to additional resource to support with a solicitor that will support the procurement and contracts, and that's going to make a huge difference. So to me that would have been something that I expect to see identified. There are also things about levels at which point things have to go through certain elements for contract standard order. So for example, if it hits £50,000, it's into the realms where, but there are other elements where the council sets its parameters. So at the moment that's 10,000. Go to quick quote. Can you make? Is it just a matter of getting quotes? Do you have to go out to tender? So there are certain elements within that I think that we are noting, that we're picking up the services, that we are understanding where it may be holding some of our or pulling a slight drag on some of our ambitions. So we are noting that, and I would expect that to come through in the strategy. I would like to say, like you, now that I'm in a place to say it'll be moving to there. At the moment we're having a review of everything that we're doing, and I would just like to be more certain about the revised date that will come forward in the business plan before I say, but I am acknowledging it is late. But there is a lot of work still going on, and not making excuses. But I do understand when we talk collectively about some of the challenges that we've still got a bit of catch. COVID feels like a million years ago, but there is still a bit of catch up on some of these areas. But fully focused on it.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, this is gone back 5 years, this procurement concerns that we've always had, and it was always so difficult. I'm just hoping that under this new system that you're kind of looking at, is that it's going to, the tenders and the quotes are going to be a lot easier for smaller businesses to take up, because I know for a long time the smaller businesses in Manager just weren't even coming close to going near any procurement because it was such a long process for them that it wasn't worth their while. So I'm just hoping that this is going to actually be a much easier rendition of how we can actually move forward with it, because we've got Lockheed, we've got the pool, we've got big projects coming up that we need this procurement in place so that it's not costing us extra money.
I would hope, and we have the local government benchmarking framework, which provides data at least up to last year, and we are still seeing improvement. I would hope that the numbers actually do speak for themselves. If we went back 4 or 5 years, it was 14% that were spending local. That's been up to near 24-25%. And Derek and the economic development teams have put huge efforts into that. So I know they're working hand in glove on that. So that is demonstrating that local businesses are ready. But not to say that there are not still challenges. Absolutely, but these are the same challenges that's faced across the board. But we were one of the worst performers in Scotland. We're now in the park. I wonder to some extent whether we'll be a top performer in that one, just by dint of the size of our economy. But where Clark Manager cannot provide the user services, we're trying to make sure that we're reaching out to Forth Valley, and that's around about the 40% mark. And when it's not Forth Valley, we're trying to keep it within the Scottish economy, because that obviously better. So I think that's sitting around about 67%. So I think there's been huge efforts around that. There is a balance with procurement about making it easier and making it more efficient, and it's something that I get every day. And then also making sure that we've got the proper checks and balances in place and that we're getting value for money. And so there are always these tensions that come into it, but I'm confident that the new strategy will document and bring these forward and bring forward further opportunities for improvement. But I do hope that the numbers are speaking for themselves, and members are feeling assured that progress is being made in that regard.
Thank you.
I bring in Councillor McTaggart.
Thanks, Chair. Just in the vein that the discussion was taken there, would it be prudent, Stuart, to look at shared services for procurement? I know this has been discussed in the past. Clackmannanshire, Stirling, Falkirk will be facing the same issues. Would it be prudent to look at a shared service for procurement, because it would obviously benefit the 3 local authority areas?
Thanks, Councillor McTaggart. This is an area that we have been in discussion with other authorities. I think the thing for procurement is, if I kind of try to explain it, is that the procurement journey, if it's that size, the actual procurement element is probably this size. The rest of the procurement journey involves commissioning. So you've got a bit before the procurement, before the governance bit, which is about researching the market, understanding the market, what suppliers are out there, is there one supplier, is there a mature market? There's quite a lot of work in that. Now that is not procurement as in a procurement officer. The procurement officer is there to ensure that the proper governance is in place. Once the contracts are awarded, there's another big bit which is about the contract administration and the monitoring of that contract. So I do think there is elements in making sure that we're dealing with single points of failure. I would think most councils would probably want to make sure, just because it is so crucial, that you've got some control and some element of that. But for sure, it's definitely an area. I think perhaps that for me, where there's probably more scope is in the commissioning element, and I think that is definitely because we're looking at very similar services. and very, across the board. So there is definitely scope for that, and I do know that has been looked at on a national level. We're also having those discussions at a local level, and I think also looking at where we can do joint procurements where that's possible. We've done quite a bit of that in the past. We're looking at other areas as well, but that does bring complications as well, and there's always a balance. So yes, for sure and short, but I think it's probably slightly more nuanced, and I think there's probably more scope within the commissioning element. But I also think there is scope within the procurement element, and there are discussions ongoing in those areas.
Thanks, Chair.
Any other questions? Can I ask somebody to move the paper, please?
I'm happy to do that. Chair, just on the basis, I'm prepared to think this is off the cuff. Just on the basis that the paper is simple, straightforward, factual and honest, I don't think there's really much debating involved in that. So I propose it on that basis.
Thank you. Somebody to second? And do you want to move to debate?
Or speaks for itself.
Okay, thank you. So, happy to accept the paper? Yeah. Thank you. Committee's accepted the paper, and we will now move on to item 7, which is Food Standards Scotland Audit of Environmental Health. And I would like to invite Emma Ivey to come and present the paper.
This report presents an audit of the Council's statutory food regulation service, which was carried out by the Food Scotland in September last year. The audit process involved an in-depth examination of evidence, as well as on-site checks with members of local businesses to ensure that correct procedures were performed by council officers. A draft final report was produced after completion of the audit, which council officers were able to comment on, and the level of assurance rating was provided. The Manager Council received the second highest rating of yellow, which is a reasonable level of assurance. When compared to recent audits of other Scottish local authorities, this is above average. The key reason for not achieving the green rating, which is the highest level of assurance, was mainly down to a perceived resource deficit of 1.2 employment health officers to carry out the service. And Food Standards Scotland say this is for the Council to resolve in 12 months. Given that recent national changes to the audit process were intended to be resource neutral, the council officers have responded to the report disagreeing with this point, and no response to this has been received. Other action points were minor in nature and have already been resolved. So members are asked to comment and challenge on the report and the audit itself, which is attached to the index. Thanks, I'm happy to take any questions and what we cover to help.
Very much. Move to questions. Would you like to raise a question? I have one. So you were talking about allergen compliance in the report, and I was just wondering if that includes cross-contamination?
Yes, good morning. Yes, it does include cross-contamination. It's one of the main aspects for sources of allergen getting into food issue.
Yes, thank you. Looks like everybody's happy with the report. So is it following the Councillor Boyd?
Just to be quick at that, 3.3.2 on page 18, there's a group of other councils mentioned there. Are they a family group? Is that where they mentioned there? Or if they're not, why did you select those ones? Oh, sorry,
no, they're not a family group. They selected simply as the most recent audits that were also published online. It was just to give some context to raising that and saying this is what we are. It gives a little bit of comparison there with other authorities.
Right, that makes sense.
Okay, then would you like to move the paper?
Yeah, that's one.
Second? Okay. So the committee are the committee happy to vote the paper? Yeah, so 20 votes in favour and 2 votes. Thank you for your time. And we're now going to paper item 8, Council Financial Performance 2022-2023 as of December 2022. And Lindsay Sim will present this paper. Thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. The provides an update on the financial performance of the Council for the year ending 31st March 2023, based on actual spend for the third quarter up to December. The General Fund revenue is forecasting an underspend of just under 1.3 million for the year, which is a significant reduction compared to the forecasted overspend of 371,000 previously reported in September. This reflected the uncertainty around financial pressure at the time. The reduction in the forecast is due to updated information on spend and management action to ensure spend is in line with budget, including an underspend of just under £500,000 which relates to development skills which will be earmarked for 23-24 in the academic year. A summary of the position across the directorates is provided in Appendix 1, and full details spent by service area provided in Appendices 3 to 6. The car manager element of the Health and Social Care Partnership is forecasted in overspend in the year of 360,000 as at December, and forecasted overspend of around 3.7 million in the partnership as a whole. This is expected to be able to be met within existing funds with no additional funding being asked of the Council. The General Fund Capital Programme is forecasting an underspend of 8.8 million, and that's across various projects against a revised approved budget of 20.6 million. It is anticipated that the majority of this underspend will be carried forward to enable projects to complete in the next financial year, and most of this will be included within the budget that's been set for 2023-24. A summary of the forecast for asset plans is provided in section 6.3 of the report, and detail per project is provided in Appendix 10. The Housing Revenue Account is forecasting a surplus of 6.4 million, which is 780,000 above the budgeted surplus. The HRA Capital Programme is also forecasting an underspend of 3.8 million. Details of the HRA Revenue Capital Forecast are provided in Appendices 8 and 9. In relation to savings, the Council is forecast to deliver 86% of the approved 1.8 million savings. Of the remaining 250,000, 210 of these are at risk and 40,000 are is unachievable in the year. Details of the individual savings are included in Appendix 2. So I'm happy to answer any questions on the paper with support from the director.
Thank you very much, Lindsay. We'll have any questions. Councillor Cole?
Yeah, thanks. This is English in my part. Is the HSCP overspend something we just have to suck up? And that's it, gone. There's no question about being alone or anything like that. We just have to meet the shortfall.
Coming before and then the system. So there's a budgeted contribution that the Council makes to the HSCP, and at this time we were forecasting in December that there was no additional contribution required by the Council. So although there was an overspend, it was to be met within the partnership's budget as a whole. So there's no additional funding that we would be given to the Health and Social Care Partnership to offset other expenses.
Thank you. The overspend across the whole of the Health Social Care Partnership set out in 5.2 has two constituent elements. One, the set aside budget for large hospital services, which is largely the services provided largely within for Fatherwell Hospital in Harbour, which the Integration Joint Board has strategic planning and responsibility for. The overspend in that element of the budget is being met in full by NHS North Valley in line with the agreement in previous years. At the point in time of this report, there was also a smaller overspend forecast on the integrated budget, which is the rest of the services, largely across our communities. under responsibilities of the Innovation Joint Board. I was able at the last meeting of the IGB on the 9th of March to verbally report to the IGB that I expect our budget next to be balanced in the for 22-23. We're just going through a various processes now, but that's my current assumption. That's coming from my view. Thanks.
No, okay. Would you like to move the report? Or do you have a question? Sorry. Just getting into your floor, sorry, apologies.
No, it's me. My ducks in a row, as it were. Page 107, 6.3 is the paragraph reference. Various underspend, various underspends here that are mentioned. Just information, are these efficiencies or carry forwards?
So in respect to the underspend of the capital programme, many of these relate to just rephasing or delay in the project's completing. So we're expecting essentially these to be carried forward into the next year, and where we've known that prior to setting the 23 budget, we've allowed for that figures, and some of these might not be. So in terms of capital, it's mostly we carry forward due to underspend due to project not completing by the 31st.
I just get excited by the word underspend. Trust me, postponed expenses and payments exciting.
Yeah, I'm with the paper. It is what it is. It's just showing me the figure. So I'm almost be saying that.
I'll second that. That's a formal second.
And then we move to debate. Would you like to debate the paper?
One point I noticed in the paper here was the contribution to the opposite. A point I noticed here is the demolition of the leisure hall. I'm sure they'd like to hear the works that have already started to bring that building down. I thought it would be just to hear it.
Sure.
So are we all happy to vote the paper and the recommendations within it? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your time. And we'll now move on to item 9, internal audit progress report, and that will be delivered by Isabel on Teams. Who's
I think we're still at morning, so good morning and thank you. The purpose of the report is to provide an update on where we are with completing our 22-23 internal audit plan. The plan was only agreed by this committee in October 22. Paragraph 3.1 sets out the workload, including the other client work undertaken. Paragraphs 3.2 and 3.3 summarise what audit reports have been completed, are in progress and are still to be started. A summary of progress relating to the 16 assignment areas is at Appendix 1. Appendix 2 summarises the findings arising from the assignments that have been finalised via an internal audit report, which have not already been reported to this committee. I'd ask members to note the recommendations and conclusions, that is, that the team are making good progress with completing the 22-23 internal audit plan. If you've got any questions, I'll do my best to answer. Thank you.
questions from members? No? Okay, would somebody like to move the paper? I'm happy to do so if nobody else wants to. Yeah, okay. Anyone to second? Okay, thank you. Would you like to debate the paper? Thank you. So we're happy to look at the progress that's been made in the internal audit plan?
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And it's you again, I think, Isabel. So we'll now move on to item 10, which is internal audit plan 2023-24. Over to you again.
Okay, thank you. So the second report from internal audit today sets out the proposed programme for work for 23-24 for approval. The resources we've got available for delivering our planned programme of work are set out at the table at paragraph 4.4. Paragraph 4.5 provides details relating to how the plan is split into 3 categories. So that's our annual recurring assignments, which are pieces of work we're committed to doing on a rolling annual basis. Our committed assignments, which are the audits we commit to completing in the year, and the other client work, which is the audit work we undertake as part of the Manager Council umbrella of work. The assignments that make up each element of the plan are set out at appendices 1 to 3. I've tried to give a little bit of detail on what the scope for each is likely to be, though again it can change once we start properly planning each assignment over the course of the year. The process for planning, undertaking and reporting on each individual assignment remains the same as previous years, and it's set out at paragraphs 4.6 to 4.12. Paragraph 4.13 highlights that each year an internal audit annual assurance report is presented to committee. Internal audit gives an overall opinion on the Council's risk management, governance and control arrangements, and that's based on the work internal audit carry out over the course of the year, and that will be reported at the next audit committee in June. The report also will include a summary of all the work undertaken in 22-23. So to finish, I draw your attention to the recommendations at paragraph 2.1. In particular, can I ask that committee approves the internal audit plan for the year, but to bear in mind that the resources available to internal audit and the need for the plan to be flexible. Internal audit direct resources to where they're most needed, and progress will continue to be reported to this committee on an ongoing basis. Thanks, and happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Does anyone have any questions? Councillor Coyne?
Yeah, page 10 of your report 147 of the papers, the leisure income follow-up review. Is that progressing well? Because that was an issue that was raised last year. I know it's a sensitive area, but it was something that was flagged up, and I just wondered if that was if that review was coming on well.
Sorry, did you say the leisure income follow-up review?
Yes. Your reference number is A09, that one.
That piece of work is one of the pieces of work that have been deferred from last year, and is one of the early pieces of work to be done in this plan once agreed today. But probably Stuart can give a little bit more information on some of that. Sorry, you're on mute.
Can you hear me at all? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So
yeah, the room was on mute.
In terms of the piece of work that Isabel was talking about, in terms of the internal audit work, there was a piece of work done that resulted in a further piece of work that needed to be done, and that work is still ongoing. And therefore, I think what Isabel is saying is that she will defer the follow-up work on that to check that the progress that was required by internal audit has been made until such time as that piece of work is concluded.
I would just like to ask, in terms of the audit, the external audit that was done last year, will you be bringing in any of the recommendations to last year's external audit into the internal audit to take forward?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Sorry for the acoustics. Yes, I was just mentioning the external audit report that we had at our last committee, and I was wondering if any of the external audit recommendations would be brought into our internal audit for the next year.
We haven't had a discussion yet. What we'll do is once we have agreed this plan, that will be something that we will discuss with them. There's obviously been a bit of a changeover, crossover in external audit provision, so we need to get up to speed and starting to reintroduce those discussions and where our work is of benefit to them, and also, like you're saying, those recommendations where we can input to their processes.
Okay, Stuart, yeah.
Thanks, Chair. Just to provide reassurance that we will be providing a report on an update on all outstanding internal audit actions, and we likewise external audit actions. So the committee will get to see everything that's outstanding, where it's at, whether it's internal or external. In fact, I think the internal one will be coming forward to the next committee.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Councillor Flynn?
It's just a little more information. Appendix 3, the internal audit plan, other client work. Do we share in the outputs from any of that stuff, or is that just another activity that's being done?
They're both, so it's the Central Scotland Valuation Joint Board and the Integration Joint Board. So we decide that work with those clients, and that information, the reports generally don't come back. We will give you a summary of where we're at with it and where the progress is, like we did in the last report. It tells you that we're actually where we're working on it, but in terms of the outputs, that goes to their boards to agree and approve.
Fine, so we've actually no role in auditing or scrutinising that work, is that correct?
Yeah.
Any other questions?
There is people who are actually going.
Right.
Yeah.
Can I ask for somebody to move the paper? Thanks, Martha. And did you second? Thanks, Councillor Earl. So we're asked to note the resources available to internal audit, note the plans indicative and flexible, and approve the internal audit plan, and note that the progress will be reported to the committee on an ongoing basis. So we're happy to note and approve those aspects.
Yep.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you for your time. And we'll move on to item 11. Local Government Benchmarking Framework 2021-22, and that's your again, Stuart.
Okay, thank you, Chair. This report provides local government benchmarking framework data for the year 21-22. This forms part of our statutory public performance requirements under best value legislation, and I would just note that we are required to publish data on our website, and that's done by the deadline. This report covers a wide breadth of council functions and summarised on page 156 of today's agenda, and that indicates that we have 50 indicators in the top 2 quartiles and 50 in the below 2 quartiles also. The summary also indicates that the long trend for approximately half of indicators is an improving one, with marked unfavourable declines in about a quarter. It's quite a wide-ranging report, Chair, covering virtually every area and aspect and function of the work that the Council does. So I will endeavour to answer any questions that the committee has, but I have a wide host of colleagues in the chamber also today, so if there are any specifics on any particular areas, I'm sure they will leap to my aid and assist. Thanks, Chair.
Very much, Stuart. Any questions? Yes, there's a point.
Stuart, 3.2.3 on page 152. Near the bottom of the paragraph it says officers participate in a range of national forums assessing what approaches can be adapted in order to improve outcomes in Clackmannanshire. Do we have any examples of this? Its effectiveness?
in terms of the fight, sorry, that's at page 152. Sorry, could you just repeat what paragraph that was? I think I know the answer, but I just
353, the last sentence there for one. About the forums of the officers.
Yeah. So this will be around forums to improve the reliability and the value of the indicators. So I think that there is work that goes on going in the improvement service, for example. And I think directors of personnel probably also need to look at the indicators. So, for example, the one that always comes up is attendance, and we're always towards the bottom end of that. In fact, Nicky and I attended the Scottish Parliament 3 or 4 years ago where it was discussed by committee at the Scottish Parliament. So there are elements to ensure groups that meet, so that one in particular is looking at how we make sure that we're measuring the same things. So we're making sure that there's like for like that's being measured, because there are elements, for example, where it's not defined exactly how things should be done. So, for example, what is contained within absence data? Some contain something, some don't. So it's that kind of thing. It's more, I wouldn't like to say for sure because I'm not in these groups, but I'm sure there are similar things with finance, perhaps through education forums, social work forums. But I think that's what it's alluding to. Is around those forums that are alluding to work on, more so the approaches to how data is gathered, reported, etc., rather than the improvement. I think that's what it refers to.
Yeah, the question is really seeking assurance on a value for money basis that we're getting something out of this, taking officers away from the daily. It is a positive thing.
I guess these used to be called statutory performance indicators, and we're going to have a long journey with statutory performance. They came in about the early 90s, so it's kind of developed the local government bench framework over time, and that meant that, and that's overseen by SOLAS, which is the collective group of chief executives. So SOLAS. In the past, it might have been directed. In fact, it was directed. It was a directive that came from Audit Scotland. Now it's SOLAS working collectively, agreeing which indicators reflect better. I think there is still an acknowledgement. There's a lot of work goes into these. And actually, if you look at this, we're almost a year since the end of that reporting period. So we are now, in a place today that we can bring to you data that relates to a year ago, and we can debate the value of that, although there is also a lag on performance data. So I think that debate is ongoing. I think about what should be in, what should be out, how much it costs to pull all this together. What I do think is that this does give a broad overview in council services, whether it covers everything, whether it's as nuanced as it needs to be, is another matter, and that debate, I'm not saying it ranges on, but it continues. What I have heard is that there is probably going to be a further iteration of this whereby councils can decide which ones are actually more useful or otherwise. So I think what we may see over the course of time is that we start to see fewer indicators that are more relevant to particular councils start to come through. I think at the moment though, every year in terms of the audit is that we do actually feature quite well in terms of not just what we put in front of you as members, and so that you can get to see the breadth and an honest evaluation of performance, but that's done transparently and as quickly as we possibly can within the required deadline. So there is a bit of a balance there, because as an officer, if we start to take things out, then it could be challenged as to why you take it out and for what purpose. So I think that would have to be an ongoing dialogue with the committee and council maybe in due course. But yeah, it's been a long-winded answer to your question, but I think it's not an easy one. I think there is still a bit of debate about it. We've got the right set to indicate as opposed to value for money in that, but I think, that debate has been raised since 1992 when it was first brought in, so it's a kind of iterative process. And I'll probably be retired long gone before it is all come true.
Thanks, David. Just a quickie here. The rankings, quartile distribution, 21-22 rankings, are we in the same place, or are we better or are we worse? Manager. We're 24th, so I'm just wondering if we went up or down the
I'm sure it will be in the, because I know Judy in this report, she's very, very thorough. I don't know if she is here. Sure. Judy, are you online? Judy, do you know, I suspect that it has gone down since last year, but I know that you will know. Have you got something that you can help me with that one?
Yes, it's it improved by 1 place last year and then declined by, from 1920 to 2021, we improved by 1 place, but then we declined by 2 places this year. So we are broadly static in our position.
Okay.
Thanks, Judy. I knew you would know.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions? There's somebody to move the paper then?
Quite happy to move it.
Okay, thank you. I'll start in 1 second. Yep, okay. So would anyone like to debate the paper?
Yeah, I'll say something.
Okay, thanks.
It's a heck of a lot of information here. There's tables of little graphs and explanations which, when you read them, you kind of think, what's the point of all that? There seem to be so many reasons why, one authority comes up with different answers from another one. Incredibly good explanations, which makes we wonder about the point of the whole thing, because it's not really comparing apples with apples at all. However, it's a statutory requirement, I understand, but that's not a question, it's a statement, and therefore I suppose we have to swallow it, but it really seems to me not a shocking waste of time. I'm sure there are better ways to do the job. That's my position.
Thank you, Councillor Coyne. Councillor McTaggart?
Thanks, Chair. I just wanted to commend the figures on page 173 with the primaries 1, 4 and 7, the improvement that's been made there. Sorry, I've lost my page. So we can see that the numeracy and the literacy attainment gap, primaries 1, 4 and 7. The long trend there is excellent, and I just wanted to commend the service for that improvement. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Councillor McTaggart. Councillor Lindsay?
Yes, obviously there's a lot in the report, and it's sometimes quite difficult to chew through, but certainly from putting my spokesperson hat on and looking across the board, there is a lot of improvement in here. There's obviously a lot that we still need to improve, but particularly as James outlined, there's a lot of educational stats there that are particularly positive. In terms of, not just in terms of attainment, but actually what we're doing with our young people when they actually leave school, and just again to get recognised our positive destination stats that are above the national average in there as well. For me, that's a really strong statistic on education as a whole, because it's about what our young people are going on to after they've had their education. And I think education gets a lot stiff, is under a lot of pressure nationally, And I think when we look, for me, that's a real key statistic that I certainly look to, and certainly as a parent of young children, it's something that I'll be looking for in my children, is what next for them once they leave school. So we have a really strong record in our positive destinations. There's a lot of work going into that, and I just think that particular statistic requires significant recognition, because that encompasses really our whole education programme there, in my view. So just out of that, but also the statistics around how we are working with our care experienced young people and providing them with the opportunity that they need to operate and live locally, but also, our recognising our role as a corporate parent within that as well. So I think there's statistics within this that really reinforce how we are supporting our care experienced young people, and I know that again has been a real focus for us over the last number of years. So yeah, just being a wee bit selfish and focusing on education people's stats here. I think there are particular points that are worth recognising, but notwithstanding the fact that there's a number of indicators there that we still need to improve. So I'll leave it at that, because as Dennis has already explained, there's a lot that you could go into throughout here, so there's a lot to do. So thanks for that.
So we're happy to note the report. So we're happy to note the report, and we will move on to item 12, which is the last item. We've done it well today. So we're on to the corporate risk register, and that will be presented again by Stuart.
Thank you, Chair. This report is the corporate risk register, and obviously it's a standard report on all audit and scrutiny committee meetings, as has been requested by the committee itself. There has only been one risk assessment change in the intervening period, and that is a minor downgrade in respect of public utility supply failure, though it remains relatively high risk rating. I have been asked previously, and there has been debate at the committee previously, on why risk ratings are not coming down more quickly, and I think, as I said at the last committee, risk assessment is a judgment in essence, not a science, and I think that's you are at the Ministry of Justice office making judgments on those things, so I think it's worth acknowledging that, and also there's been a lot of volatility and uncertainty in the external environment in recent times, and that may or may not have a bearing on collective risk appetite. I think that volatility and uncertainty has picked up pace certainly in the last year, and I think in the foreseeable future it will remain so. I think this will have an impact in some instances on assessment, irrespective of any control mitigations that we do, and that includes factors that create perhaps a less risk-tolerant environment. So I'd be happy to endeavour to answer any questions that members may have on the risk register, Chair.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, one of the biggest things I see that is the insufficient financial resilience, and that to me kind of encompasses all the rest underneath that. So if you've not got the financial resilience, then the rest of the stuff isn't going to happen either. I think obviously because of the way things are at the moment, it's difficult decisions that will have to be made about where the money comes from, but I think we need to keep a very close eye on this over the next 12 months, because the current report is 25 and the target is 5, so there's a huge big gap there. Unless I'm reading this wrong, then we really need to be very careful about what's happening within the financial side.
I think that's. I think the acknowledgement where it sits on the risk register and has been for some time really reflects
that position. But you know, in terms of the work that's happening through presented through the budget paper and be the future, and the regular updates on those, and the work that's happening through the budget strategy group, and it's being reported through council. You know, acknowledging that there is a significant, everybody knows that there is a lot of work, and you know, I hope we'll provide assurance to the committee that through council that there is regular reporting on what is happening, both on budget development and the future development that virtually reported to every council on the subject matter, which really just underlines the importance of this risk and why it's sitting there at the top of this register.
Thanks. Councillor Coyne?
Thanks. I remember, I think the last time we looked at this table should be a quarter ago perhaps, and I had a copy of the year previously to that, and there was very little movement between one and the other, and now there's virtually no movement between this and that. I